and keeping our worlds going around. So I see all over the place in workplace how you're jumping in and solving problems and supporting people, and it's really, really appreciated. So appreciate all your hard work. Love working with you.
My pleasure, my friend. We'll catch you later. Happy Friday, all.
Take care, everybody. All yours, JP.
Thanks, Dave.
Not hearing you at all.
Can you hear me?
Now I've got you.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, you're on.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Well, good morning. Welcome to another episode of ICONversations. Super stoked to be here today. We're going to talk about tips, tricks, and tactics to give back to our community. And so we're super excited to be here, and just want to make sure that everyone is here. I don't know what is going on with my avatar. It's being weird, but there we go. Back to normal now. All right. So, let's see. All right, we got Keith Bliss today. We got Karen Bomero and Bree Phillips and Trenton Dunn.
Hi.
All right, so we're going to start it off with just give us some introductions on, tell us a little bit about your business, what the makeup of your business is, and then tell us what your production was last year. Do you want to start off, Keith?
Sure, absolutely. Welcome, everybody. And holy cow, $2.5 billion market cap. That's insane. The stock has been incredible again to watch this week. So just a quick introduction. Keith Bliss from Cary, North Carolina. Been in the business since 2001. And been with a local firm, a large national franchise, and then moved over to EXP 2.5 years ago. And we serve the whole greater Raleigh-Durham area. We're right smack between Duke, Carolina, and NC State. So we're right in ACC basketball mecca. Hoping to salvage a season this coming year. We'll see what happens with that. And last year's production was just under 27 million in volume, and a gross commission income, actually just over 27 million, and a gross commission income of 1.1 million.
That's awesome. And Trent.
Hey, my name is Trent Dunn. I'm in the Atlanta market. I started in real estate in 2003. I started as an investor. I got my license I believe it's 2017. I'm sorry, 2014. And I really did it just so I could invest better and have access to properties and information. So it just gave me more access. But then I started realizing, what I could really leverage and build out my business, really working sales better. So I focused on investors, working with investment firms. And now I'm really starting to build out, retail sales and doing more of that. This past 12 months, sold about 100 homes, but most of that is from working with investors and investment firms that are, where I'm, doing the acquisitions with them and selling them off, whether they're doing rehabs or whatever the objective is. So, it was kind of more so about me being able to control the inventory and being able to buy stuff off market with investment groups, and then having a set amount of inventory that I can kind of already know what I have on the books for the year, depending on how the market is, how quickly I can sell stuff. So now I'm just trying to be able to work with outside buyers and sellers. So that's kind of where I'm at with my business right now.
Excellent. And Bree?
Good morning, everybody. Bree Phillips from Astoria, Oregon. I work in a small rural market. We've got 10,000 people in our town, about 40,000 in our county. And if you've ever seen the movie The Goonies, that's my hometown. I am a team leader. I am a working mom. I'm the sheriff's wife. I run a team. There are 4 of us on the sales team, myself included. However, my team outperforms me, and that's part of the business model and the goal we can talk about later. Last year, we did 58 million in volume, and this year we're on track for 65. So that's a little bit about me.
It's awesome for a small town, for sure. Karen?
Hey, good morning, everyone. Great to be here as usual. My name is Karen Vamero, and I am in the Tampa Bay area of Florida. And I've been in the business about 23 years. I'm a licensed broker associate. My business is pretty much myself. I am an individual agent. I have mainly my business is relational. I have a lot of sphere of influence and past clients that refer business to me. I am mainly a listing agent. I don't particularly work with buyers, but unless they're specifically referred to me. And my volume last year was 14 million.
Nice. That's doing well, for sure. I'm JP Fluellen. I am in Wyoming. I kind of did this backwards, but I'm going to introduce myself right now. I run a team of 9 agents in Cheyenne, Wyoming. We have about 59,000 people in our town, about 80,000 in the county. We did 113 transactions last year for 29 million. Yeah. So I'm going to throw this out there. I'm just going to let you guys randomly respond. What has been the biggest change in your business since COVID?
I'll start. I did my first Zoom listing appointment, which was very interesting. So I'm in Florida, so we're from the beginning, we were essential services. So we were never like my sister's in Pennsylvania, and for a long time they couldn't even do anything with regard to real estate. So for me, the main thing is just adjusting. But again, eXp Realty, I was already using the tools like the 360 virtual tour because I'm mostly a listing agent, where you can meet people online inside the tour. Very, very cool. So those are a few of the things that that's different as far as my business with COVID.
I can give my experience. A lot of the homes that I have listed have tenants in them. So I think a lot of the buyers I was working with were investors. So the biggest challenge I had with COVID was setting up appointments and trying to coordinate things with tenants and potential buyers, and making sure everybody felt safe. Because a lot of people are going to buy a home sight unseen, and they don't want to just see a 360 tour. They want to get inside and inspect, and especially if they're planning on doing upgrades to the homes. So that was the biggest thing. And I think I overcame that by just overly communicating and making sure everyone's following, safety protocols, and just making sure everybody just felt safe. That was the biggest challenge and how I overcame it.
Well, Trent, this is Bree. I love what you said about over communicating, because that's something that our team worked really hard on. with the onset of the pandemic. What we've done and we've learned through being EXP agents is the importance of communicating the tools that we have, the technology that we have, and getting our clients on board. And it's really worked well for us. So I put a policy into place when the shutdown happened that the first showing for a buyer had to be virtual. So the buyer's agent would go to a house and have the client on FaceTime or Zoom, whatever their preference was, and go through a virtual showing. If at that point the buyer decided that it was a house that they wanted to see in person, then another showing would be set. The agent would go unlock the property, let the buyers go in and wait in her car. And that proved to be a really nice way to make sellers feel comfortable, but also our buyers feel comfortable. And in the first 3 weeks of the pandemic, we didn't see many people out looking. But after that, we've all kept pedaling. And right now, we have a record number of sale pendings with our little team. We've got 34 in escrow. And that's the most we've ever had at any given time. So I'd say that these processes that we've put into place has not only helped us improve our business practice, but it's also made people feel comfortable, and that's important.
Keith, you got anything?
Well, it's interesting. What a great question to ask. And we've circled around this topic a lot. I guess the biggest adjustment for us was understanding that our business model was already ready to not necessarily meet with people, and only to convey certain things. And what we found since meeting with people regularly is that sometimes we'll meet in person, everyone is all masked up, and then we'll go outside and physical distance and take off our masks and chat out there as well, because the facial expressions, the body language, and things can get broken down when it comes to portions of our presentations and our connecting with people. We concentrate on a very small radius. In fact, it's a 1 mile radius from our office location. So we do a high volume of business within a very small area of town. And that's the primary. A lot of our other business comes from past client spirit and everything else. However, one of the things that we made sure that we did from the beginning was still ask to meet in person. And what we found is in the very beginning did a lot of Zoom and a lot of Zoom intros, but at the same time, some of the Zoom intros to our business partners was successful and others were not. And so we kind of fine tune that into still, in other words, some group conversations were not as productive as individual conversations. In other words, an introduction to a lender or a builder or an architect or all three. We learned that the success of that transition, so to speak, much like when you're passing a client from one team member to another, that transition needed a whole new ramp up of what we had been doing in the past, but got to click it into gear a whole lot better with Zoom and face-to-face transitions, meaning face-to-face on Zoom versus non-face-to-face in the past. So I guess I would say that was the biggest thing for us, is that the Zoom transition won't end. I think that's a critical piece that we've learned really gets the client engaged with our service partners.
Yeah, one of the changes in our market was, it was when it first kicked off, we made some pretty significant changes, in terms of masks and hand sanitizer, and in some cases, some of the sellers wanted, everyone to wear gloves and then go back and wipe off the handles in places that, clients had touched. But it quickly loosened up here. So we are pretty much back to normal showings, which is interesting. But I guess since we have, very low population in the state of Wyoming, I can see how we quickly just went back to, business as usual. We did, try to make sure we communicated that if it's a concern of yours, make sure you wear a mask or let them have the freedom of choice when it came to that stuff. But for the most part here, kind of went back to normal. So, so obviously you guys are all here because you've been wildly successful in your businesses. So let's jump into kind of the basics. What contributed to your Icon success? Karen?
Yeah, sure, I'll go. When I first got in the business, and I was transitioning from a 10-year career in insurance, handling negotiations with attorneys. So when I transitioned into real estate, I knew that I needed to connect with the top producer. I made a connection and a proposal to a realtor that was 20 years my senior to connect, to partner together, which we did, and eventually became 50-50 partners. So that, to me, that was a very smart move, I guess, on my part, or I planned it that way because I knew that I really needed to connect and train. And again, we're talking 1997. We didn't, we still had the books that you go through in MLS to look up properties and dot matrix printers. So being connected with someone was very important. That person was a new, prior to her getting into real estate, she was a new construction home specialist. So she had a geographical farm already established. When I joined her, I brought to the table my marketing, whatever technology we had back then to do market reports. So I started a geographical farm 23 years ago, and I'm still in that same location. I still have relationships with the same people are turning over, and they're, it's really interesting now too, because, when I think back on 20 years ago, I never really could have imagined this and looking into the future, but I'm watching families grow, and I'm growing with them through selling them homes, starting with starter homes and then moving up homes and then sizing down homes. So it's really, really been a blessing in that respect. And I'm just trying to, just being authentic myself and really, really knowing the market and the farm that I'm in. So if anyone's going to start a new geographical farm area, I would suggest you do as much research as you can on who built those areas, who built the homes, how, get the square footages, go into public records, look at every single subdivision that's in that geographical farm and get to know each one of them, so that when you do get a phone call from a prospect or you're on a listing appointment, you are perceived and you will become the expert of that area and the go-to person. And I'm sure Keith could probably speak better on that than me, because I know they have a very, very small niche. So that's what I contributed to.
Thanks, Karen. How about Bree?
Okay. Gosh, I've been in the business for 15 years, and I would say what contributes to the icon status is just the relationships and the relationships that I've built and the team has built over the years. 82% of our business comes from past clients in our sphere of influence. And when you work and live in a small town, you build a reputation, you become the go-to. And that's just kind of how it works. I was with Remax for 13 years prior to moving over to EXP, and built my team and my business there, and didn't lose a step in moving to EXP. So that's a good thing. What else contributes? I think just being innovative and trying things, experimenting with marketing and trying things that other people aren't doing. I know that, most of you here in the room are probably utilizing video, but in our market, not many people are. So one of the things that we've invested in on our team this year is implementing marketing videos for all of our listings, and that's helped us stand out as well. So I can't say that there's one thing that's contributed to the icon status. It's just lots of little things, and most importantly, grit and hard work.
Yeah,
All right,
this is
Trent.
Trent. Yeah, I would agree with Bree. It's a lot of little things, but for me, more specifically, it's relationships with investors. I started off investing myself, and that was just for me, saving money, and just being able to. I partnered with my brother. I did some stuff initially myself, doing some home flipping, and this was back in 2005, 2003, through 2005 through the crash, and then doing some investing with friends and family, and really just creating a track record. And I think even in residential sales, you still have to create that track record for yourself, just so people kind of start knowing you and knowing your capabilities, and then just developing the relationship. So that's what I did on the investment side, and I kind of am backing into being more on the retail sales side. But in that process, I'm just learning systems and learning about the lead process and the follow-up process, and just being diligent on it and knowing that it's a long game. I would say my sales, probably aren't as, aren't as pertinent as some of the others on the panel, just because I'm not out there. I'm just now starting to do really out facing marketing for my services. Whereas before, it's like I'm just negotiating with investors that are looking for certain things, and I have access to them because I know of other investors and I know of other buyers and sellers, and I'm able to work my way in. But to be able to have sustainable business, it's just about the consistency, and that's what I'm working on now on the retail side. It's just being consistent with marketing and all my online presence. I just started working with a marketing agency. And I'm working with, doing some more ads. I'm using the Making It Rain system that EXP provides to start getting more lead flow. And, relatively speaking, I think is a pretty small investment if you're thinking long term, to start getting constant leads coming in and being able to work them and follow up. I think that's the most important thing is, working the leads and following up with them consistently. And then in the long term, you're going to see a return. So that's pretty much where I'm at and how I got to where I'm at.
Awesome. Keith.
So, JP, great question. I'll start by just giving my bullet points, because as everyone else was talking, I don't think I stole any answer from anybody else while I wrote down my answer to this. I'm a true student of learning from everyone else here on the panel, so that's really awesome. My bullet points that I wrote down, which have led to my icon success before EXP, and then of course now with EXP and all the great things that come from becoming an icon within the company, is time blocking, goal setting, information and reporting, social media presence, coaching, and giving back. And really what it comes down to is all of my passwords for everything I do are goals that I've set for myself, current goals. So every day when I'm logging into something or relogging in or whatever it may be, my brain is focused back on my goals based on me using my passwords. Honestly, that's always been one of my biggest tricks for myself, and really sticking to a time block and really sticking to a schedule has controlled everything about my life when it comes to being around my wife and kids and all the other things that we're involved in our community. All have to do with time blocking and understanding how important those other time blocks other than real estate are for me.
That's awesome. That's very regimented. And it's cool that you remind yourself with passwords. I would have too many longer phrases that I couldn't remember all the
You get really good at making acronyms for those
Right?
goals. It's, and usually it has to do with money, so, or transaction number of transactions, money, or a specific address that you intend to own someday. So, there's different ways to do it. And then also, with what Bree said before about being very hyper local, we created a dozen years ago now a local Facebook group that could be easily 50, 60, if not 100,000 members strong. Yet we've limited it to under 10,000, and we keep the conversation to within the 1 mile radius of our office, and things going on within that 1 mile radius. And that has proven over time to gain a lot of clients to us that just based on repetitive contributions back to the discussion of the lifestyle of our local area, people are come out of the woodwork, so to speak, and even particularly during this COVID era, have reached out specifically to meet with us and learn how they can get their lifestyle planted within that 1 mile radius.
And again, it comes back to niching down, especially in areas where you've got large populated areas where you can niche down really good. I don't know, is it niche or niche? Depends on what part of the country you're from, I guess.
It's like GIF or GIF, like which is
right?
Either.
So yeah, for me to Icon, I didn't, when I joined EXP, I didn't even know there was an Icon program. And so when I got going and someone was like, you could Icon, and I was like, I don't even know what that means, but I decided that. And then they're like, oh, but you have all these benefits of iconing. And then so I was like, oh, well, then I need to step it up. So for me, it was literally knowing what the icon thing meant and doubling down on everything I was already doing. So whether it was video, social media, making phone calls, lead sources, I just got on all the things. And that's how I ended up. And then I just tracked my numbers, and I was in the EXP enterprise every single day, making sure that my transactions were being processed to where I could see where my numbers were at. And so I guess if you get being agent obsessed, and I just wanted to make sure that each and every day was intentional to moving the needle forward. So that was kind of my trick on that. Okay, so being an icon, high production, what is one thing that you could share with our audience that you're doing that's giving you the highest dollar productive activity? Start with Karen.
Definitely for me, the highest dollar per activity is making sure that I connect with my past clients, and I'm calling them on a regular basis. So I have it set up that in my database, when I talk to someone, I'll put them on like a 3-month follow-up. So that way, and it's not like I call and say, hey, do you know anyone buying or selling? You just call and say, hey, how's it going? I'm in the neighborhood, or I'm going to be in the neighborhood. Do you need anything? And just connect. So, and that's because, again, my business is very much based on my relationships and past clients. Now, that may not work for someone that does a lot of online lead generation. But yeah, so for me, it definitely is making sure that I connect with those clients, and also giving them something of value when I do call. Like, for example, one of my lenders has a really, really sweet deal for refinancing. So I might pick up the phone and, just call those people that I may know had a higher interest rate at one point, and just call them and connect and say, hey, just letting you know, one of my preferred lenders, has a great deal going on. If you're interested, I'll shoot you his name, just something like that. So, yep, that's it.
And what are you using to track all that?
I just, to be honest with you, before I was just doing it, not a good way. Right now, I use the KV Core system now. So luckily, I've been with EXP now 2 years, or a little over 2 years. So I am, all my contacts are in KV Core, and that's what I'm using.
Nice. Bree.
Okay, so the question, just to recap, was what's the one activity we do for high dollar production? Is that?
Yeah, what is the one activity that you're doing that is producing the highest result?
Okay, so my answer might be a little bit different than the rest of the folks on the panel because, as I mentioned earlier, I am a team leader and I do have a small team. So I would say for me, the one thing that brings the highest return is making sure that I'm providing value to my team, to the agents, and 5-star training. Because one of my goals is to be able to work Monday through Friday from 9 to 5, evenings and weekends off. That's super important to me to maintain a lifestyle so I can continue to support my husband in his role and support my kids. So making sure that I'm providing really good training and support to my team is the one thing that, or the couple things that I do to bring the biggest return on investment. There you go.
Bree, can you give us some examples of what you're doing for training?
Sure, absolutely. So for Mindset, we have a weekly book club. So we all read the same book and then have a roundtable discussion. The book that we just finished is Mindset by Carol Dweck, and if you haven't read it, it's a fantastic one, and we'll be starting the Happiness Advantage next week. So that's one of the ways that I keep them, in a growth mindset for their mindset in general. Another thing that we do as a team is we go on the broker caravan tour every week, and that's important to continue to be the knowledge broker in our market, to understand what the comparables look like and to be able to preview for our buyers, and we do that as a team. Let's see, what else do I do to support them? I make sure that everybody has scheduled vacations every year, and when they go on vacation, I take over their business so they can truly turn their cell phone off. And that's something that I believe brings great value to the folks on my team. Let's see, what else do I do to provide value? On my team, when a team member signs on, the only thing that they have to bring is a car, a computer, and a cell phone. Everything else is provided. So I do that so my team members can focus on following up on leads and delivering great value to their clients and not have to stress about the money. I'll stress about the money and I'll stress about all the bills. And again, that's proven to be a really, really great way for me to build this business. Let's see. I mean, those are just a couple of ideas. Is that helpful?
Very helpful. I just wrote down a few things because I run a pretty good sized team too, and the book club thing that's pretty sweet. We do it's funny because it's like the country I feel like is 50-50 on the caravanning. Like some people are like, well, why would I look at houses that I don't have buyers that are interested in, or on the other hand, I need to know my inventory so when I do get a phone call that I have the knowledge of what's going on in my market. So that's pretty awesome. Trent.
Yes. I'm pretty much following the common thread as everybody else. And it sounds like, it's really just adding value, continuously adding value to everyone you're interacting with, even if you're not going to see a direct return of you giving them that value. So So for me, most of my interactions are with investors. So when I'm talking to investors, I'm always just talking about what they got going on, what they're looking for, what their investment goals and objectives are. And if I don't have something that can help them, I'm referring them to somebody who does. Or if I don't have the resource, I'm going to try to refer them to somebody who does, even if I don't get anything out of it. It's just building that relationship for clients that I might work with that are in my funnel. Is constantly reaching out, following up, and giving them things of value like market reports, investment opportunities that that come up that might be in their area that they might be interested in, or either letting them know about low interest rates and then seeing if that might be an option for them to refinance. Because that's what's going on right now with interest rates dropping. A lot of people might have some equity in their home and refine, even if they're not a potential buyer or seller at the time. They could be a buyer because they can use those refinance funds to cash out some money out of their home and go buy an investment home. So I try to add value to clients that way, just by letting them know what's going on in the market. And then for other agents I work with, I'm an associate broker, so I try to provide some knowledge and support. I've been in the business for a long time, so I've seen pretty much everything. So when somebody runs into issues, I try to give them that support. For new agents that are working closer to me, I actually do provide them with some resources. If I'm like mentoring them, I'll give them, like a little cheap Chromebook. If they don't have a laptop or a cell phone, I'll give them something just to get started, and they pay me back or give it back to me when they get on their feet. But I try to provide little things like that. Training sometimes. I don't really do intensive training, but I will have some sessions with agents when they need it, just put some time to the side, especially obviously they're EXP agents or they're kind of in my downline. I'll help them out. And I do the book club thing too. I refer books. The book that I referred a lot of the people I'm talking to is The E-Myth by Michael E. Gerber. That's a really good book, just to really know how to compartmentalize your business and understand that, when you're by yourself at first, you're wearing all the hats of all the things that have to operate within your business, but understanding that, you can start outsourcing some of those hats and some of those duties to other people to make your load lesser over time as you start to grow. So that book kind of put things in perspective for me and other people I've referred it to kind of understand what your role is and what others' roles could possibly be. So you're working with people that do what they do the best, and you do what you do the best. And then of course referrals. I'll give other agents referrals and doing things like that to kind of support them. So a combination of all those things, continuously doing them, over time, it just builds rapport with other folks and builds relationships, and then ultimately builds more business.
That's awesome. So, okay. So, yeah. Okay. So while we're kind of on the topic of investors, I know that there's probably people in the audience right now thinking, I want to work with investors. Seems like a nice way to have predictable revenue without paying for leads. If you could give us a couple of tips or some tricks on trying to find investors, and then maybe what if you have a presentation tool that you use when you're kind of meeting an investor for the first time?
My advice on investors is trying to, initially when you're starting off, go to the meetup groups. Like if you find meetup groups in your local area, they usually have them. I know in Atlanta we have a real estate investment association where they do like weekly meetups. I don't know what they're doing now. I haven't been to some recently, but I'm sure they're probably doing them on Zoom or online somewhere. But getting out there, the investment meetup groups are the best way. That's how I started, actually, just really trying to connect with other people. And then you'll find actually a lot of people that have access to a lot of capital at those meetups that you'll be surprised, because they look for agents and they look for wholesalers that are boots on the ground. So a lot of the capital out there, they're not trying to get, they're not trying to go out and prospect. They're not trying to go out and find, potential sellers or investment opportunities. They're just looking to deploy capital. So when you can find those resources and then you can connect with the capital, then you have a pipeline. Now it's about you just finding the deals. and finding opportunities. And those are like, for sale by owners. Those are, you can send out mailers to certain areas, start tracking down homes that are boarded up, track down homes with overgrown grass, find out who the owners are, and just send them letters and door knock, and just try to find off-market opportunities. That's what investors want. They want off-market opportunities, typically, just so they're not competing and they can, do their research and due diligence without, having to rush through it. And then knowing the numbers, I think, is important. So when you're pitching to an investor, knowing your numbers and knowing the like if it's a rehab, for example, like you kind of putting some rough numbers together, I think is helpful. So you can kind of give an estimate to say, like, you kind of know, is it like a carpet and paint job? Is it a job where you might have to do some plumbing and some electrical, or do you need to like redo the roof? Is it a full gut rehab? Like, if you kind of know those things and you kind of know the market and you start developing relationships with maybe a couple of contractors here and there, they can give you free estimates sometimes and do a walkthrough and say, like, okay, this is what it would take to rehab this home. And then you use those numbers to then go and pitch to potential investors. So when you're approaching them, you're not just giving them some random home. You're showing them something and showing them the numbers and showing them the deal, showing them the exit strategy of how much you think you can sell the home for after they do the rehab. And another thing to add on to that is, I try to tell agents, when you're working with investors, try to work with them through the entire pipeline of the purchase, rehab, and sales process. So on the purchase side, obviously you can be representing them as the buyer's agent. And then once they have it under contract, or once they have it purchased and they're working on it, then you can possibly be the manager, manage the project for them, go to the project and check up on their contractor and take pictures and give them updates and charge a fee for it, and then on the back end, you can list the home for them. Once it's all ready to go, you list the home for them. And then you get the commission once they sell, and start developing that relationship with them. So you're their go-to agent. You're the one that's always finding them deals. You're seeing it through, and then you're getting it on the market and selling it for them. And you just have a system of doing that. And once you build that reputation and investors know that you know what you're doing, you're bringing good deals to the table, and you're seeing it through, you start building business that way.
That's awesome. That's some really good takeaways right there. Somebody in the chat just said, do you have a recommendation for a letter or format that you use to contact owners or abandoned homes?
I don't have anything like that, but I'm sure you can find something online. And another thing too is just being genuine. If handwritten letters are always good, door knocking is good, being personable is good. If you start blasting out stuff, you got to realize that you're working in the numbers game now. So there's two different approaches. Sometimes I think this is for investors or with retail potential clients. You can work the numbers game by just saying, I'm blasting out everything, I'm spending money, or you're just doing a ton of marketing. Or you can go with a more direct approach where you're meeting people personally, you're handshaking, you're not handshaking, but you're getting in people's faces to some degree, and you're talking to them, they get to know who you are personally. And then you can kind of develop relationships that way, which are a little stronger, but it's a little slower, versus then you're doing like the shotgun approach, you're just blasting out a bunch of stuff and hoping to get a couple of leads to come back where you can potentially work with them.
Read a lot of one-to-one marketing, driving for dollars, and you can go the old school tactics, bandit signs and all that stuff too, and try to get some wholesale deals.
Exactly.
And
yeah, bandit signs are really good too.
Yeah, we're just north of Denver, and so we've got a lot of people moving up in our area looking for investments, because all the old school investors are getting pushed out, and they don't want to change with all this digital marketing and all this stuff right now. So, all right, Keith.
Wow. So much information there from all of you guys. Thank you so much. But JP, I'm gonna be direct about something. You asked for one thing,
right?
So I'll answer for those in the audience that are either icons, aspiring icons, new to the business, close to reaching icon, everything else in between. Never has there been a more pivotal time in our real estate market and it has nothing to do with the COVID era. It has to do with the inventory era, that we as a country are drastically below inventory of what the consumer demand is looking for, which opens up so many avenues than when we have a completely loose and fragile market. The market is wicked strong right now. So my answer to this is, my one thing is being me. And what I mean by that is I know the bullet points of what I talked about earlier that lead to my success in the business are the things I'm most comfortable doing as me and not a stretch from that. And what happens to a lot of agents is they get distracted by so many ways to approach and glean or attract business that they never become an expert at any one thing. In fact, one thing in plenty of different formats has been part of my password selection since I read the book The One Thing. So I highly recommend picking up a copy and reading through it over and over and over again. There's nothing better to help you get focused on your one thing. But my one thing is being me, and what I've learned is over the years is what comes natural to me and gives me energy and grows me as a person and gives me more knowledge, and also allows me to take risks, both entrepreneurially and in business, but also take risks within our relationships with people. I'm in either family, friends, new acquaintances, or business relationships. That's where I stay. I stay within that zone. So I don't add anything new to my plate that everyone has a bucket list of things they'd like to do in their lives, but at the same time, you can't be an expert at all of those things. And one thing, just as on all kidding aside manner, I've learned why I'm not a big scuba enthusiast ever since I've had to wear masks.
Nice. That's awesome.
So meaning, understand, try things, but if it's uncomfortable and you're not getting success, or you're not determined to keep on going on that route, despite, getting your teeth kicked in, getting knocked down, getting rejected, then that's not something that's not an area within real estate you should be in. And all of us on this panel know, if you've noticed, everyone knows exactly what they're good at, and then they leverage other people to do the things they're not. And I think that's just an important thing for the audience to remember.
Absolutely. So the one thing for me was, and really the pivotal point for me with my big business is I just read this one book, and it just changed my whole perspective on all the things that I do real estate wise. I read a book called The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. If you haven't read it, it's a really quick, fast, easy, entertaining read. But it made me realize one thing, that we don't put in enough effort into our businesses to get the result that we want. And what I mean by that is that, especially as icons, we have big goals, but I don't think we're putting in we don't dissect the amount of effort it takes to get there. And so the 10X rule just basically is that you need to put in 10 times the amount of effort you're doing right now to get the desired result. And that was a big game changer for me. And that was the first time I had hired an assistant, because I realized that I needed to just take all the fear away and all of the reservations of cost and numbers, and knowing deep down that there were things that I wasn't good at, which we've talked about, how we leverage other things and other people, and whether it's technology, VAs, or, in-house assistants. And so when I made my first hire, I doubled my business that year. So just think about that for a second. Okay, so I want to dive into this last thing. I think we have just enough time to dig into this topic. Describe an epic failure that changed the way you set your business strategy, and how do you go above and beyond for your clients? Karen.
Oh, I hate this question. Gosh, here's the thing. I can probably name several epic failures. I guess the thing, I'm not going to describe an epic failure, but what I'll say is whatever the failure is, epic or something that makes you pause and say, wow, I did not see that coming. I need to be prepared next time, because we all know in the real estate industry, in our business, every single day, something new pops up that you were not aware of. And I guarantee you talk to any agent that's been in the business a long time, never think that you know everything, and always be open to looking at something that maybe you're not familiar with. So I would say when you do have that failure, epic or small, for me, what it is you can put anything in front of me. I will never give up until it's resolved. It's my tenacity, my stubbornness, probably a little bit. I guess that's, if that makes sense. I don't like it when someone says, oh, no, you can't do that. No, when you have something in front of you, there's always a way to solve the puzzle, so to speak. You don't give up, you find a solution, or you find an end result that everyone's satisfied with. So hopefully that kind of, I know it wasn't really what is your epic failure, but it kind of describes how to handle it in things that are thrown at you every single day in this industry.
Absolutely. Bree.
Okay, so I think you guys heard me talk about this before. I would say one of the epic failures that I learned a lot from is hiring a new agent and not putting in the time to have a training schedule, like a regimented training schedule. And for the first 6 months, it worked out okay because we were super busy. But when you don't give somebody a solid foundation, it can get ugly real fast. So that's the epic failure. And how do I go above and beyond for our clients? One of the things that I've worked really hard on in the last couple of years is operational excellence, not only for business operations, but also how can we deliver an Amazon Prime type experience to our seller clients, and how can we reduce the stress? So one of the things that we do is we pay to have a professional cleaner come in prior to the listing to clean for the sellers, takes a little stress off. And then we also bring that cleaner back for the move out clean. So that's just one little thing that we've done that we know that it costs us a total of about $500 per listing, but it's been a really, really smart way to deliver value to our seller clients.
Awesome. Trent.
Yeah, my biggest fail internally was when the stock first spiked. I sold some of it. I sold a good bit of it, actually. And the point of it was to go reinvest it, but then it went up even higher, and I'm still kind of cringing over that. But that's a good problem to have, I think, because that just means the business is doing well and the company as a whole, EXP, is doing great. But internally, as far as this business goes, I think it's just one of those things where I see things go wrong all the time and things I can improve on. And I've always been pretty resilient. So it's always about, when I see something happen or a mistake happen or a transaction go bad, I always look at it like, how can I make sure I have a system in place so this never happens again? Anytime I dissect it, regardless if I got through the transaction okay, and everything worked out, I still dissect every situation and say, like, how can I make sure this issue never happens again, and make sure systems are put in place to prevent that. And then it's just about doing system checks to make sure that that you're running a tight operation. One book that really pushes that point is a book called Principles by Ray Dalio, who's a large investor with I think it was with Bridgewater. So
What's the- oh.
that book really talks about, being resilient and
how's this
understanding
light?
that failures are a part of the process. So when you fail, you make that a part of your process to get back up and do better, and really looking at why you failed, why something didn't go right, and then using that as a part of your growth process to just keep going through those iterations of attempting something, potentially failing, assessing, correcting, and going back and attempting again. And you keep getting better every time. So when you have a lot of little failures, I think it's better. I think too, when you have a lot of little failures, you prevent having the big epic failures. So acknowledge your little failures, embrace the little failures, use them to keep continuing to grow, and then you won't have the big failures, because you are really looking at what's going on in real time and paying attention to your business, and just keeping that focus on it. Because when you take your eye off the ball, something will fall eventually. And it could be devastating to you if you're not paying attention. So if you're constantly paying attention to your business, I don't think you'll ever have any major epic fails.
Hey, can I answer real quick? We might run out of time.
Yeah, go for it. We got 4 minutes.
So I would say that my biggest epic fail, and it took me a while to understand that I had done it multiple times, and we all make this mistake as agents, producing agents, is that I was giving away information for free. And what I mean by that is I really didn't understand that the information and knowledge that I had was worth something until I gave it away so much to people that ultimately didn't use me as their broker, and yet used the information I gave them to create a transaction for themselves. So we have a strict policy on not giving away information, especially in a tight market scenario. We don't give any off-market information of any kind whatsoever to other agents or consumers without an exclusion, without a agents. The policy is if one agent knows about it, then every agent knows about it. And then with our clients, we have non-disclosure agreements for information that we might provide to them for off-market properties, and that only and there's specific wording to keep our relationship and our buyer agency agreement intact throughout the duration, and even overlapping and extending past our relationship with any properties that we have introduced to them.
Wow. I never even knew that was a thing.
Well, and that's the reason it's interesting, because I can tell you a lot of other epic fails. I have a lot of superstitions, as we all, I'm over 1,000 transactions strong now, closed ones, which means tens, if not hundreds of thousands of conversations about real estate over the years. And one of our superstitions, was if a seller is selling their home and emptying it out, and they offer us something of value within the house itself, any personal property, that we don't take it out of the house. Even if we accept it, we don't take it out of the house until the day of closing.
Makes sense.
Ultimately, some deals fall apart, and then you're like, and then so I just brought it back to, it's because I took that lawn chair, let's say, right? I was like, I shouldn't have taken that lawn chair out until the closing was done. So there's times where they've left something really cool behind for us and we forgot about it, and then the buyer's like, oh, how cool that they left it. Then of course I can't go and get it. But and that and also Trent's comment about selling stock to reinvest it. What a great bookend to my opening comment about the stock value. So I'm so glad that Trent, you shared that with us, because we can all reinvest back in at some point, right? At the same time, we don't want to bet against our own company. Who knows if we'll ever be able to invest again back in at $6 to $8 a share.
Crazy. Well, I'm just looking forward to that $100 a share My stuff hasn't vested yet, so I'm good. I just gotta be along for the ride. Real quick, epic fail for me was just that after 10 years in the business, just didn't have a follow-up strategy for all my past clients. And lots and lots and lots of my buyers went with other folks for sellers because one of the statistics out there, I think, is like 82% of your buyers forget your name after the first 3 years, and then they just go with whoever they go with. And so I didn't do a very good job of reconnecting with my past clients. And so lesson learned, I've thousands and thousands of dollars I left on the table for not doing that. So, all right.
Well, I have a comment on that for you, JP. Don't beat yourself up on that, because there are other statistics that I've done with my past clients. I have a past client that I'm in process of attracting to EXP that in the last 12 years has mentioned my name to people that would potentially buy or sell real estate, but I don't recall ever having a direct referral from this person, yet we're engaged right now and talking about her coming to the company. So I asked her, I said, over the last dozen years, how many opportunities did you have to refer people? She goes, oh, a few. I said, and what happened? She goes, I told them about you every time. I said, okay, but did you connect us? And she said, no, I didn't. I said, I just want you to remember that lesson learned, people who move into neighborhoods that are either riddled with other real estate agents or are associated through play groups to sports teams to schools. So many other relationships come into play that unfortunately we don't have any control over. So don't beat yourself up over that. There's always going to be a lot. So what's the lost cattle from the herd? How do you say that out there in Wyoming?
I don't know. I'm not from Wyoming originally.
But I mean, right? Yeah. Well, we've already talked about that. That's why I joked about that. But I mean, you're bound to lose, some cattle from the herd. So you got to remember
Absolutely.
That's just part of it.
Called a stray.
Yeah, stray cat. There you go. All right. Well, that's the end of our time, and I appreciate everyone who made it through, and hopefully there were some good takeaways from today's panel. And I want to say thank you to Keith and Trent, Karen, and Bree for being here today. And you guys have a wonderful weekend.
Hey, thanks everybody.
Hey, great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. It was awesome.
Thank you, guys.